everyone. So went out and did it. I went and watched David from Angel Studios the other day. I watched, and as I kind of said I would, or mentioned I would, after doing a quick review, complaint, criticism. Let's go with criticism of Handmade with Sydney Sweeney in it. Again, what I properly labeled a feminist honeypot, and it pretty much was a feminist honeypot. The movie was kind of like, okay, interesting. Wow, that's crazy. Then it kind of came comedic. It was so bad until it got that one scene, which, let's be honest, every man went there to go see. And then afterwards, it's just like, whoa, the feminism propaganda came out in full blast. I will say right now off the bat, that movie definitely gets a D minus. Sydney being Baird definitely gave it an extra letter grade up, and then that's about as far as I'll go because I am a straight man after all. Okay, so David though gets a B minus. Not too bad, not too bad. I enjoyed it. A little too much singing. There was some biblical propaganda, both on the Christian side, both on the Jewish side. But it wasn't anything that was so atrocious that I'm just like, oh, I'm dying. It actually had a funny part in it too. Talking about a little bit of propaganda, where David just gets knocked out when he's trying to give a big inspiring speech, and it's just like, yeah, that's probably pretty much what happened. But anyways, so the movie starts off with David, this strapping guy right here, kind of coming, a young guy, tending a sheep, doing all this good stuff. He gets anointed to be king by the Samuel guy. He goes, he fights Goliath. By fight, I mean, literally, he's just like, he just sounds like a kid that just got brainwashed by some crazy religious group, right? And got sent off to go die. Wanders onto the field with his little rock that he found in the river, a moth landed on it, very, symbolic, like God's giving him a message. And goes in there, and I always thought myself with the whole story behind David and Goliath, I'm like, sounds like nonsense. Sounds like just some arrogant guy was being stupid, forgot to put on his helmet, and got a big stone caving through his skull for his troubles. And honestly, yeah. some fools say that the spear is the king of the battlefield. It's not. It's a trash weapon. It's just basically something in mass that you can use, easily grappled with, and taken away. Anyways, projectiles and armor, both kings constantly competing on the battlefield. But anyways, it just shows the scene, and this is kind of like giving credit for, like, it had a lot of showcasing of Christianity belief and Jewish belief, and it kind of also said that, yeah, this guy Goliath set himself up, it displayed in a way that he set himself up for failure and death by basically taking his helmet off, exposing his skull, looking up and talking trash. And David is not, for such a godly man, he's not a honorable man. At least not when it comes to duels. He did not care. He was like, sweet, this guy's not paying attention. Put this big, huge rock and flung it, and boom, caved in this guy's skull. And honestly, that's what I always thought what happened in historical context. I don't believe God came down, because again, regardless of your belief, I'm a Norse pagan, by the way. Regardless of your belief systems, I don't really believe the gods are coming in here to issue you out favors. Okay, they seem to favor people of action. So as long as you're taking action, they will kind of look favorably upon you. So, anyways, David, and probably very intelligently so. I'm not bashing him. I mean, it wasn't honorable, warrior-like, but it was probably the smartest thing to do. And I always believed it. Just took advantage of this guy looking up, not paying attention, just chucked a rock and wiped him out. Why not, right? Like I said, projectiles are the real king of the battlefield, and they're always fighting against armor. You don't have your armor on, projectiles are going to win. Good times. Anyway, so David becomes super popular. He's already been anointed king by this old guy named Samuel. King Saul slowly becomes more and more crazy. Now, again, even though it had some biblical propaganda in it, it wasn't terrible, over-the-top, obnoxious. And what I meant to say earlier, why I kind of went on that rant, is it makes it realistic for what could also be considered faith. Realistic situations that are backed up by their faith. Saul, like the Jews, the Israelites, are not really showcased in a perfect manner. They have a lot of flaws. They have a lot of faults. They're not like shown as perfect examples. They've had bad things that happen to them. They make mistakes. They have bad character traits that break them down. So I appreciated that. I also appreciated that there was no obnoxious modern day artificial gender roles, i.e., no girl bosses, no unstoppable girl warriors, no hyper obnoxious women trying to act like men or little girls trying to act like men, all this stupid crap. It was amazing seeing women being naturally women once again. And they weren't like they were being beaten, abused, or anything like that, or kowtowed. They just were acting like women and being a part of a family circle and a part of a family unit rather than just, oh, look at me, I'm girl boss, I'm going to go and slay the giant. There was lots of singing, by the way. Definitely should take away a full letter grade for all the singing, but whatever. I should have known better. And it was fantastic. I mean, it's David's mom, I would say, is a supporting female character. There is no love interest for David whatsoever, even as he becomes a younger man. His mom is not obnoxious girl boss, not a feminazi. She's not a feminist. She's actually really a loving mother with anxieties and worries. And she's not girl bossing. And although she's technically the second main supporting character, she doesn't overshadow David. She doesn't belittle him. She doesn't woman-splain him. She doesn't put him back in his place. She's a supporting mother who's worried, who just encourages him. And that's something you just don't see. And that's a fantastic representation of true femininity and true motherhood right there. A loving, supporting woman that's definitely not a pushover in any way, shape, or form. Still is a very important part of the family unit, but isn't trying to girl boss everybody. I wish we'd seen more of his father in action, but the father wasn't relegated to be a clown either. Comedy relief a few times, but at one point his father even gets up and he talks to the entire cave full of Israelites that are running away from Saul because Saul goes crazy and tries to kill David in jealousy. Again, not perfect. And he inspires everyone to kind of pull their heads out of their rear ends and that, hey, his son David was anointed king to help lead them. So there's some good parts of the movie. It ends with a few tragedies here and there. And the part I was talking about earlier where like David gets knocked out when he's giving an inspiring speech, I kind of just chuckled because David foolishly shows up to his group of people that are just kidnapped because they were trying to ambush the Philistines after they were going after King Saul, and King Saul was not setting himself up for success. And the King Saul's army dies. The brother-in-law, Jonathan, or just brotherly guy, also dies. He gives like a little honorable salute till the end before he gets killed. David and a bunch of others realize that supported him were disguised as Philistines, and they run away from the battle rather than actually help them. And David's kind of like torn, like, does he help King Saul and his brother Jonathan, not real brother, fake brother, or does he go help his family? But anyways, it's an interesting end to that. Then he goes, after getting a lot of guilt, he throws off his armor and arms, and he goes and barefoot, and goes try to save his people who were kidnapped by the Amalekites. And the Amalekites, as he's trying to give this big inspired speech, just come by David and knock him out. Twice they knock him out. And then, very interesting enough, just a nick of time, the rest of those guys that he was with that were disguised as Philistines then show up and save David and all the other Israelites that had been kidnapped by the Amalekites. Sorry, that's kind of confusing. My mind has wandered a little bit too much. But my point was that they even though there is some propaganda to it, there's a lot of faith-based moments in this film. It's not ridiculous over the top. Even, I would dare say, even if you're not too religious yourself, you would enjoy this film. But anyway, so because there's a lot of things in there too. So it is kind of funny how they kind of brings it back down to earth a little bit. They don't go over the top. And I really think that's smart. With Hollywood and so much media being very strongly controlled by perverts, you have your Harvey Weinsteins. You also then have your other extremes, the woke types, the Kathleen Kennedy types, the Disney types, the Epstein supporters, Epstein and associate types, those people. it is good and important that you have more conservatives and more religious groups get involved with actual films and actually good films that don't overly beat you over the head with it. I think the biggest failures of conservatives and religious groups is that they tend to publish films that are just only based on their faith, and that's it. And they miss a huge market. They also miss a huge opportunity to influence culture in a positive manner by not focusing too much on their religion, but talking about everyday things without having to make everything heavily based on their faith and religion. Anyways, again, a bit of a rant. Overall, I'd say this movie is pretty interesting. I enjoyed it. The music was kind of. I'm not a musical guy. I'm not. Yeah, whatever. It was enjoyable characters. It was nice not being girl boss to death. I quite enjoyed that. So again, I give it a B minus. It was pretty good. You should go watch it. Now, to talk a little bit about the Angel Studios, the problem they're having right now, I know I'm kind of throwing this out of nowhere, is that they also are recently gotten a bit of controversy because they are rewriting or remaking Animal Farm, but they're making it for kids. And it seems to be just a little too I don't want to say anti-capitalist, but it's kind of kissing that area. It also seems to be slightly aimed towards tech, particularly Elon Musk. There's like a Cybertruck thing in there as well. I mean, that could just be, nothing's, just on accident. But it seems to be missing the point of Animal Farm quite a bit and trying to dumb it down too much for kids. Is that good? I don't know. Probably not. Most people, especially when you look at the comment section and everyone else, they're very much opposed against it. I see they're trying to at least bring it down to a wider audience kids, because honestly, like, how many kids are actually going to read Animal Farm these days? Probably not many. But is the wisdom of the original author, George Orwell, going to be lost in that? I don't know. Probably. The comment section seems to think so. Watching the trailer is also pretty cringe as a pig kind of moves his butt. So Angel Studio is not perfect. They are kind of losing the script, losing the plot a little bit, as we say. So we'll see. Anyways, Outlaws, thanks for listening to me ramble on. This was super long, kind of went all over the place and kind of lost my train of thought a few times. Hopefully not too bad. I will do better. I promise I will do better with this because I want to be able to explain more concisely. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Good Yule. Happy Hanukkah or happy holidays. Whatever the hell you want to do. See you later.